Hi, this is Tim Sanders, founder of the Omnia Radiation Balancer, and I'm honoured to have been a guest on the Journey to Truth show. Now, with phone radiation, most people think that because they can't feel anything, nothing is happening. But the reality is that this radiation is causing a lot of stress and damage in your body, and your brain doesn't register that it's happening. The likelihood is that you'll only find out about it when this continuous stress shows up in the body as disease. And this is backed up by well over 10,000 peer-reviewed studies showing that EMF causes serious diseases when they tested it on rats. The Omnia Radiation Balancer removes this stress. It's proven to balance the blood, it brings perfect crystalline structure to water, and our kinesiology muscle tests show that the body goes super strong when you stuck it on your phone. And it works with 5G. You just order enough patches to cover every radiating device in your home and you're done. It lasts forever. But to be clear, let's not get complacent. We must all stop 5G together. So big thanks and big love to Tyler and Aaron. Click on the link below and you can quickly and permanently bring balance back to your body. Thank you.
Hey, you're listening to Journey to Truth podcast. Tonight is a special night for us. This is episode 50. We can hardly even believe that it's been this, we're at 50 already. It's crazy. And we thought it would be cool to bring my father back, Jim Kiwala, who was our very first guest. And he was our first guest because we had no idea what we were doing. And we're like, do you want to be our first guest? It ended up working out, and here we are. I don't know how many people listen to it. I don't recommend it. It's embarrassing.
Would not recommend.
It's embarrassing for me sometimes. I'm like, oh.
Actually, it's highly recommended.
Okay, there you go.
Well,
thank you. So yeah, it's awesome to have you back. I've been looking
almost exactly a year.
Yeah, it has been.
I feel honored to be back. I mean, this is awesome.
I think we're 1 week away from the year.
Yeah,
point,
almost
right?
a year exactly. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
1
so
week.
it's pretty cool. And so one of the things I've been wanting to ask you since we knew we were going to have you back on was, at what point in your life did you realize that you failed as a father?
The day you were born? No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for putting me on the spot with that question.
Man. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
no, you've got a big.
Now you know the reason for this episode. The true reason.
Yeah, put it on the spot.
The airing of grievances.
The airing of grievances.
No, obviously.
Yeah, all this is set up.
Obviously, you've played a huge role in my awakening, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy we came this far, and it's good to have you back. So how's it going?
I just want to thank you guys for the invite. I mean, I really feel honored, and look how far you guys have come since day one. I mean, this probably would have never happened if we didn't meet Aaron in Loveland, Colorado, at Dimensions of Disclosure. I mean, he just walks up to it. You and I are getting ready to take a hike, and Aaron walks up. Do you mind if I join you? And here we are today.
Yeah,
You know?
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, we met for lunch, and Aaron was eating his food. We were talking, and I have to reenact it. And he was getting ready to take a bite, and he goes, "You want to do a podcast?" And I was like, "Okay." And I just kept eating, and here we are. Yeah, it's funny.
That was when because I wasn't even living in St. Louis at the time.
Yeah, you were in Kansas.
I was in Kansas
visiting.
When I went to Dimensions of Disclosure and met you guys, I wasn't even living in St. Louis. I was living in Kansas. And then a few months later, I was visiting back home, and we went out to eat and got lunch. And that's when that happened. So,
history of itself.
And then a month later is when we started after that.
Yeah. I mean, just look how far you guys have come. I mean, I don't know if you've actually sat back and thought about the impact on how many lives that you guys have had. You might not even realize how many lives you've impacted and reached out to, and just done good things. I mean, it's
a blessing that I hope it's, we can tell to a certain degree how many people just by views and comments and stuff. And that alone blows my mind, how many people like resonate so strongly with the podcast. But it's the guests. Like that's what I always tell. Like, we've been blessed enough to know some amazing people, and they've been great.
I can verify that. Yeah, you do. Yeah,
come on the show and share their knowledge and wisdom with us and the world. So, and it's just kind of escalated from like the beginning. It's kind of crazy because we had no expectations of it growing this fast. It's amazing that it did, but
So,
and I have to say too, though, I think I might have mentioned this to you, Tyler. I call you're Tyler by all your friends, but I call you TJ. So I might switch back and forth.
So everyone call him TJ from now on.
Yeah.
That stands for Tyler James, just in case everybody's wondering.
Yeah. But you and I went to a meeting once, and just for an example of how much you impact people. And I watched a gentleman walk up to you with gifts for you and Aaron. And he said, I have no way of supporting you guys besides doing this. And he gave you guys both a gift. And I'm just sitting there in awe, like, wow. Just that's when I realized that, when you guys were actually impacting lives, and just the comments that people were coming up and the accolades and everything. And which, I mean, he was asking if you guys had shirts or posters or anything. And I think you guys have something you're getting ready to release.
Oh, we do.
We do.
So we finally, so Steven Cefalo, you guys all know Steven. We had him do some artwork for us, which you've seen. You may have seen. We shared it on Facebook a couple months back. We had it made into a poster. We're in the middle of having them delivered, and they're going to be up for sale here shortly. And we'll go ahead and debut it. Go ahead and grab each corner there. See if you can raise it up a little bit.
Pretty cool. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys look like superheroes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
There we go. We can pull it down.
Cool.
It's like a comic book.
Yeah.
No, that's
the comic that'll be coming out. But
maybe one day.
Hey, maybe one day.
Anyway, so I guess just for people who don't know you, because they most likely don't, you can just want to jump into how you got involved in all this stuff.
Yeah. Well, first off, when you asked me to come back for your 50th, and after listening, I'm super fan. I've listened to all 49 from beginning to end, and I just wonder what I could bring to the table that these fabulous people have brought to the table. And I'm just an average Joe as far as I'm concerned. And I started thinking about, well, maybe I could reach out to the people that are just beginning this. You know what I mean? Kind of like I did back in episode 1. I was pretty much just understanding all of this back then, and have actually come a long way since. And believe it or not, watching your episodes, I've actually learned a lot, a little from this episode, a little from that episode, and just made me do more research on my own. And I've grown through watching your podcast, so that was a big part of it too, Second episode, go ahead, Aaron.
That's so great to hear. No, it makes me feel so great when I hear people say that, because that's why we're doing this,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
episode 1, what were you saying?
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. Jump right in. No, but back in episode 1, I just, since not a lot of people probably saw that one, and we were just kind of starting things out, I just a brief, description of what that was about. So back, I had got into this by noticing this number 11, just constantly saw it over and over and over again for years, actually. And just told everybody, I keep seeing 11. I see 11, 11, 111, and 11, and finally, one of your friends, Tyler, told me that I should look into what it means. And I had no idea at that time that it had any meaning. I just thought it was just a crazy thing going on. And that's when I realized that the numbers I was starting to see actually had meanings. And then they started to coincide with things that were happening to me in my daily life and things that were coming up. And from that, I've grown since then, since episode 1 till now. And I've grown from seeing the numbers, which I still see the numbers, and they still have a big impact on me. They still actually coincide with what I'm going through right now. And I am now at a point where I'm getting the messages through my thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm starting to understand and just, at first you think, I guess you want to go back to your gut feeling. That's where it all started with me, your gut feeling, following your gut feeling, and started realizing that your gut feeling is pretty much almost all the time right.
Oh,
and just from there started paying more attention to it and started doing a little more research into it. And of course, you and I, Tyler, have had so many conversations about this, and you've helped me along the way. I mean, I feel like I was there for you when you were younger as a dad, grooming you and growing with you, trying to lead by example and everything. And now your knowledge in this, I'm actually learning from you at times, and it's kind of cool how it's kind of gone the other direction, and it's really, it's there. So
I do want to jump in for a second and let you know that it's creeping me out that you're calling me Tyler.
Well, it's funny because
He never calls me Tyler, except when I was young and when I was in trouble. He was Tyler, but it's always TJ from him.
I think it's just the habit of being on the show and knowing that people here call you that. So
I didn't. I'm sorry, I had to throw it.
That's okay. No, it is funny. So anyway, started paying attention to my thoughts, and it just grew from there. And you also showed me and introduced me to how to use a pendulum. And that's kind of where I almost verify that my thoughts are correct, by, generally the gut feeling's right and everything. But sometimes, with just learning this and going through this, you're just like, yeah, right. It's just not, you don't really understand and believe that this is all really true. This is really happening. And kind of like a lot of people that are listening to this for the first time hearing me say all this, or, skeptics or whatever that don't understand it all. And hopefully eventually with me talking about this, they'll maybe pay more attention to their thoughts and different things, numbers or synchronicities,
Yeah.
And maybe it'll open their door for them to maybe realize that they have this inner power also. Everybody does, actually. You just need to recognize it, I think,
Wake up to it.
Totally.
Yeah, wake up to it. Yeah. And again, most of your audience probably knows this already, but I'm hoping to reach out to the few that are just now, getting into this and understanding it, and
well, it's never bad to have reminders either.
Yeah.
Because we've come so far, and some of the simplest things that we should be doing every day, we quit doing because we think advanced, and we kind of forget about certain small practices and just the fact that we are that powerful. Sometimes it gets all about the information.
Yeah, and I'll have people just and I'll hear conversations about them thinking about something and something happens, but they don't put two and two together. And I'm thinking, and sometimes I'll bring to their attention, you need to pay attention to that because there's a reason why you just thought that, and it did just happen because it's connected. And don't know if some people really still believe that or recognize it, but I'm still trying to plant the seed, and it just just like sitting next to my wife in the vehicle, and I'm thinking, I wonder what we're going to do for lunch today. And she, within seconds, asked me, I'm kind of hungry. What do you want to do for lunch today? Just thoughts are just instant back and forth, between each other and not really realizing it. And it's that's what it's all about.
And it's a form of telepathy in a
Mhm.
sense. It's just the very basics of it,
Right.
Yeah.
And meditation, obviously, I know you've got into meditation. You probably never thought you'd be meditating. I never thought I would be meditating.
Yeah.
But that actually helps activate that part of your brain.
Yeah. And I found when I do start getting messages that it helps if I do go into a good meditation first. It's more powerful that way. And a lot of my family and friends, this is the first they're hearing about this. you know, and they're going to be kind of sitting there maybe with their mouths hanging open like, what? but
Jimmy's going crazy.
Yeah.
yeah. No, I haven't. I mean, like I said, I think this has always been in me my whole life. And because you know me from, you know, when you were younger and just growing up through when you were a kid, and me coaching you and at work, just the way I handled people and treated people. And, you know, and until I retired, I didn't realize how much I impacted people until they started coming up and telling me, you know, and at the time I still didn't, I blew it off until just recently. Now that I know what I know about myself and what I'm capable of, I'm looking back and, you know, it was in me back then. I just didn't understand it, you know?
Yeah. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. It just lays dormant all those years until something happens. It's a catalyst that bam, it just sparks.
And that's just what I want to tell everybody that's listening. You know, it's in you. You just need to expose it and look for it and pay attention to it. And the people that are going to grow are the people that are actually going to act on it. You know, people are
don't doubt it. That's
right. Yeah.
So growing up, I know you've told me before, if you're comfortable talking about this or not, some experiences that you've had that you've later validated, not recently, that potentially were ET experiences. Would you mind talking about?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so I've always had these memories of when I was a child. I guess I thought they were dreams at the time, these like nightmares actually, you know, but they were reoccurring. These same things happened to me over and over again. And as an adult, I still remember them vividly. And, you know, you're going back to your gut feeling. I just knew they weren't dreams. I really honestly felt in my heart and gut that these things actually happened. And we were at a meeting with Margie K. Mm-hmm. And I asked the question, you know, have I ever had any experiences in the past? And she verified that I did. Well, recently, a friend of ours had a little psychic fair, and she had a medium there, and she was having these little 15-minute segments with them. It was her store opening, and she just had this psychic come in, this medium come in, and she scheduled some time for me. She knew that I understood all this. And without me really even asking the questions, this medium tells me the same things about when I was a child that Margie K told me. So for people that are skeptical about things like that, when you start to hear when two separate people are telling you the same thing that don't know each other or don't know me, that kind of validates things, you know, in my book it does.
Oh, yeah.
Know?
That's the same with any whistleblower testimony or anything about secret space programs and all this stuff. That's how. Mm-hmm. That's why we actually believe and feel it. Like, you know, it's not just a gut feeling, but there's so many people bringing this information forward, and they don't know each other, and it all ties together. Mm-hmm. That's just it's corroboration, validation.
Yeah, and you know, and then you know, so. From the numbers started telling me, I'm kind of going backwards a little bit here, but from the numbers, I started receiving numbers and seeing numbers that were going to tell me I'm going into a significant spiritual change. And that's actually when I started noticing my thoughts were, you know, the numbers were the thing that led me there. But then I started noticing that's where the change came in, and my thoughts were actually, I started to recognize my thoughts. And that's been almost, what do you think, is 6 months, a year ago?
Probably, yeah. Roughly.
Yeah. You know, and I'm just now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I just want to say, you're not getting away without telling us about those experiences.
Well, let's come back to those so I don't lose track. You know how I am if I lose track. So not only am I seeing the numbers now, again, but my thoughts are starting to tell me that I'm getting ready to go through a very significant change in the near future in my spiritual life. And they're actually, my guides are actually giving me information on things they want me to do to prepare for this. And it's weird stuff. And you actually clarified it, TJ, for me the other day. I'm like, they're telling me I need to declutter, you know, it's just to kind of get rid of stuff and get the garage cleaned out, just do do all this stuff like that. I'm like, it's really weird. Why would they have me doing this stuff for this spiritual change I'm supposed to be coming through? This big change is coming into my life soon. And what was your comment then on that?
I said that's because with all that stuff on your mind, you wouldn't have the space to learn whatever or to accept whatever's coming in. So you clutter, do all that stuff. This way you have a clear mind, clear conscience. So,
and it makes a lot of sense because that stuff is on my mind, just stuff I have to do. Actually, it's not just that, it's just stuff I have to do is always on my mind, and, so from there, how I've been told to grow is to see Jennifer, have Reiki sessions with Jennifer. And that is just every session is just when I leave there, I feel like I'm on a different plane, and I just see where things are going for me, and I get more connected, and I don't know, just cool stuff.
Well, and you met Jennifer randomly in a parking lot on the way into a store. Right.
So I was told the night before in my thoughts that I'm meeting somebody that's going to impact my life, and somehow I'm going to impact their life. No idea. And I'm trying to figure out who this person is, and just not getting any answers. It's just kind of there. So I just let it go. The next day I go walking into a store. At the same time, this person walks into a store, and at the same time, and just, I don't remember how it all went down, but just started talking with the store owner. The store owner knew her, the store owner knew me, and it just, bam. And right away, my gut feeling was, this is the person they were telling me about last night,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. And then just things have grown from there.
All right, back to the ET experience. I know there's not many details you remember, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's just I remember beings. I remember beings, and I remember not being at home anymore, and I just remember being somewhere. And it's just like I said, that part of it's foggy. I just remember that I was with somebody besides my family, and I just wasn't at home. I was just somewhere I didn't understand, and it was repetitive.
What about the goop that they were feeding you?
Oh yeah. It was some kind of green paste, it was weird. It was just kind of a.
But the thing is, someone else might have a experience like this, and they might hear this, like, oh my God.
Well, that reminds me of James Gilliland says when he was like 5 or something, he was in the hospital, really sick. I forget what he said he had, but he said what he thought was a nurse showed up, but in like a different color than the other nurses were wearing, and gave him some. He said the closest thing was like ice cream. He said it was kind of like the consistency of ice cream, and gave him to him to eat. And he ate it, and then he got better.
Interesting.
And then she went away, and he never saw her again. And he tried to describe the lady, and no one knew who he was talking about and stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a similar thing there with
could be. So this was as he was a child also?
Yeah, he said he was like 5 or something. So gotcha. A young child, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when your experience, you were a child?
Yeah, so yeah, like I would have to say in a grade school.
Okay.
Like around the 7, 8, 9-year-old age, somewhere there.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's so it was a paste.
Well, that's the way I described it. It was just kind of it wasn't a solid. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. No, definitely. So let's jump. We both, if anybody listening has heard me talk about Board Camp Crystal Mine, we went there.
Yeah.
We went there, and it's almost like an ESETI. They have Sasquatch everywhere. I mean, the Sasquatch activity is insane. The night watches are just like ESETI, UFOs. I mean, craft. It was profound. It was the most, how can I say, real experience I've ever had. Sometimes you think you see something, or you see something in the distance. This was like right in front of our faces, and you didn't really believe it was true. It was like, holy cow. So I wanted you to kind of just touch on your experience there because it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think everybody needs to go there.
Yeah, well, you have had a lot of experiences before that yourself.
Did you? I gotta stop you. An orb just flew right in front of you.
Did it really?
Yeah.
That's cool. But you have had other experiences before that at different area places you have gone to, and just here at home and different things like that. And I have never had the physical experience that we had there. That was my first time, so it was very eye-opening for me. And of course, the skepticism comes in, and you're just like, is that really real? Is that really happening? So the first night we were there, for one, the tour was awesome. The tour through the site, and but the thing that I thought was cool the first night were the craft that we saw flying over.
Yeah.
And the one powered up, which was really cool. You just wondering if there's satellites or, the skepticism kicks in. But when it starts to dim out and slow down and then gets stupid bright and just take off, that's not a satellite,
Yeah.
I mean, I've never even seen a power up like this at James. It's just it was just like, as soon as we questioned it, it just boom. Got
super bright.
I mean, bright. Yeah. And it was awesome.
Wow.
I'm getting chills right now, even just thinking about it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool stuff.
You want to visit this place now?
Well, we have every intention to go back. So you guys,
I got to go with you guys.
Yeah.
And then we got some return Sasquatch calls, which I know that's like very Finding Bigfoot-ish, but it's just when you're there and you're hearing it, it's really cool.
Yeah, when you tell the story, everybody's like, oh yeah, right. But when you actually hear it yourself, it's the sound is actually unexplainable. You could people are going to say it was an animal of some type, but I've been in wildlife a lot, and I understand animal calls and different things, but this was just above and beyond that.
Yeah. So now let's talk about night 2 because that was awesome.
Night 2? Oh, the fog and
yeah.
So, all day long it was foggy and kind of misty and no sun, and we were disappointed because we didn't think we were going to see craft that night like we did the night before because of the cloud cover. I mean, it was just all day long, even up to the time we were there.
Yeah.
But before that, we had the experience. I'll let you explain those experiences.
Okay, so I'll be quick about it. So they had a clear beach ball, and then he puts a glow stick inside of it, and he has the Skywatch field, I guess you could say. And it's an old stage with a sound booth. Well, out in the sound booth, he wedges this beach ball up against like a rock and a 4x4 post or something to where it can't move unless you actually physically pick it up or hit it. It will not fall. And he puts it out there because he said sometimes the Sasquatch like to play with it. Well, we're sitting there just waiting. It's still light enough you could see the field. And we hear something coming from the right, but it's light enough till we can't see it, but we can hear it coming. And I don't know if it sounds like it's running or what. Next thing you know, pop, that ball gets hit and it goes flying off the thing. And we're like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
I can't believe the ball just went flying.
Yeah, not just fall, it went flying. Yeah.
And so he went, Orville, the guy's name, he went back out there and set it back up, wedged it up. No sooner than he got back, I heard something coming from the left now. It must have been the same creature, Sasquatch,
Probably.
Whatever. And came back and boom, it hits it off again. And keep in mind, it's not pitch black, so we can see what's going on. There is nothing.
And you don't see anything.
No, we don't see it, but you can hear it. And it hits the ball and it goes flying again. And right when that happened, we looked up and the clouds start parting like Moses parting. I mean, just,
in a circular, just kind of round, a big round area just opened up above our heads.
Yeah.
And we started seeing craft.
Yeah.
Wow.
This craft started coming.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then we're looking up. So our hair standing up. We're like, oh my God, what's going on? Then look at the sky, the clouds, and we're seeing craft. And then we look down and there's these orbs, these blue lights, and some of them are even orange. And they're just like moving around in front of us. And it was the craziest thing. And I don't know how many of them there were, just a couple, but there
were half a dozen at least.
Yeah. And we're watching these orbs and there's craft and just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe all this is happening. And then at that time we hear something land behind us and tumble across the stage we're on. And we run back and look, and it was a crystal, because this is a crystal mine. A crystal was thrown from the field over our heads and landing behind us on the stage. And he says that happens all the time. He goes, people will be using the bathroom, and a crystal will just drop on the floor out of nowhere behind them, and just, or they'll get up. So they gift. It's like them gifting you a crystal. But once that crystal hit the stage, the clouds closed back up. Everything, all activity stopped. It was like that was
Really?
their validation.
That was their like parting gift. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was on cloud nine for that rest of that night. The whole next day, I just running it through my head. It was just unreal. And then after that, we got to hike through the woods at 9, 10 o'clock at night.
In the dark, yeah.
And he was just showing us all this spots where there's been activity. It was just the coolest experience. You can go as a group or do a private session. Do the private session. It's way more intimate and probably have better luck. Seeing something.
I mean, well, he's had a few people come out there to try to make TV shows, and a lot of investigators coming out and verifying things, and some pretty cool stuff.
Expedition Unknown. Josh Gates went out there for an episode.
Oh yeah.
National Geographic came out there. There's, I think, A&E was wanting to do some type of show on crystals. So they're getting approached a lot. And Josh Gates even mentioned, because they saw a UFO, they saw a craft, and he tells a story when we were there. He was so excited, he started running, and he tripped and fell, and his camera got shut off or knocked off. And he was so excited, and he told Orville, the guy who owns it, he's like, you don't understand. He goes, we do this show all the time. You see my show. He goes, we don't find anything. We don't see anything. He goes, this is crazy. I can't believe we're actually seeing something. And they did get it on camera. Yeah.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, enough about that place. I just thought it was.
Yeah. So what's the name of that place again?
It's BOARD, Board Camp Crystal Mine in Arkansas.
In like northern Arkansas, right?
No,
it's about an hour away from Hot Springs.
Below Hot Springs. Hot Springs. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is that not northern? Where is it? Is it like middle of the state or where?
Middle,
yeah.
Okay.
And the thing about the other crystal mines in Arkansas compared to this one is it's the only one that is no machine digging. It's all hand digging. You go out there, it's virgin soil. You have shovels and buckets and tools, and you start digging the crystals. The other ones, they take a machine, scoop it out, and they pick out the good stuff, and you go through a pile. So and he only, like, it's a Native American site, so it's super spiritual, and he only allows people to dig where they tell him that they can dig. It's like
really?
The land, when the earth is ready to give up these crystals. So it's just an experience.
It's amazing. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely want to visit that place.
So the book, Shiji.
Yeah.
So anybody who knows my dad knows that he's never read a book in his life.
Oh yeah.
So Peter Maxwell Slattery has a book, Shiji. It's channeled Pleiadian.
3 books.
It's actually 3 books. It's a series now, but it's channeled Pleiadian information. Pleiadian, for those who don't know, is an extraterrestrial race that has been involved with Earth and humanity since beginning of time. This is channeled information, and I talked him into reading it. And I'll let you go from there because.
Yeah, I mean, I just couldn't put it down. I read it from beginning to end. I actually read a few chapters over again just to kind of refresh my memory on a few things and just things I wanted to remember about it. But I just, I don't know, just real fast getting into details on the book. It was just really has a lot to do with what I'm experiencing right now with what I'm going through in my, spiritually in my life, as far as the understanding my consciousness,
Yeah.
And it really, actually, I learned a lot from it. I really did.
Yeah. It's one of those books is like activating and like it's so resonating. You're like, oh my God, was this book written for me?
Yeah.
But the thing about it is it all makes sense. To the average Joe, maybe not. They'll probably think, it's just a fiction book, but it's just once you start reading it, it makes a lot of sense. You have to have an open mind.
Yeah. It even gets into a lot of the mind control that we've been under and the control systems and everything.
Really?
Mhm.
Which is
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been
I
wanting
think
to read
it's the mind control. It's just, and I don't want to go this direction. Just I want to mention it just so that kind of some of my family and friends can hopefully learn from this. But some of them just watch the mainstream media on a daily basis, or they'll watch it and believe everything that they listen to, and they don't understand that. I don't care which, so you're on the left or you're on the right, whatever station you're listening to or channel you're listening to. They just want to put you against each other. They want to put us against each other. They want to put men against women, blacks against whites. They just want division. They strive for division, and that's how they have their strength. If we're divided, they're winning. And I was there at one time. I'm guilty of it. But I look at it now, and I just wish that everybody could be more aware. Even the local news, we had a ice storm come through a week ago or so. So I never watched the local news, and I turned it on, and they're talking about this impeachment trial one-sided, and it's just like, I know of the other side. I know about the other side, but it's just crazy how they only let the public know about what they want them to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There's always an agenda that,
yeah.
And it's, it's funny because before you have the mind to not just take everything they're saying at face value and, oh, that's the truth. When you actually look into things and do your own research, I mean, this is from personal experience. You find out most of what they're telling you is not true, is either completely not true, or partially true and partially not true.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything is in one of those two categories. And it's nuts because it's like, you're like, why would the news, what's supposed to be telling me what's happening, be blatantly lying to me? Well, the only reason for that is if they have an agenda that they're pushing, that they're trying to steer you in a certain direction for a certain reason. And then you look into that and it starts becoming blatantly obvious what that is. And everything they say, you're like, well, of course, because then you know what the agenda is. And you can stop, you stop buying into it once you get to that point, because it's just like, this isn't real anymore. It's just it's propaganda that gets sold to the masses.
Yeah. And anymore, they're shooting themselves in the foot every day now because they're based on lies. They've lost all their integrity.
They're losing credibility every day, more and more. Yeah, more people are,
and like you said,
through it.
Like you said, people are like, why would they do that? No, there's cognitive dissonance. They're so emotionally attached to a certain belief or a certain information that they just can't understand. They're like, our country would never do that. They would never do that. That makes no sense. But it makes perfect sense. You just have to, I mean, it's the truth is stranger than fiction. The stuff that's going on right now, the reason behind the division and this agenda is far beyond what anybody would ever imagine. It is really disgusting. It gets into, child abuse, satanic rituals.
Very, very dark.
People think, satanic rituals, that's bullshit. Religion's not even real. Well, they push atheism for a reason. So you don't believe that they're worshiping a Luciferian God. Yeah.
And it doesn't even matter if you believe it's real or not, because when you look into it, clearly they believe it's real.
Yes.
And clearly they are doing these things. So whether it's real or not isn't even a factor, and that the fact that they believe it and they are doing these things. And this is really
it's just how corrupt the media is itself, because just for an example, if I were to tell you shouldn't do that because if you do, you're going to look like a dirtbag. Well, the media just plays, you're going to look like a dirtbag.
Yeah. They're like, what can we cut out
so
of this?
they give the public the wrong interpretation of what was actually said. Well, and it's just nuts,
It's the definition of propaganda. Just look up the definition of propaganda and then watch any mainstream media and then do your research on what they're talking about, and you'll find out they are propaganda. It's not news. It's supposed to be news. It's not news. It's pushing an agenda.
It's bullshit.
It's manipulating. Yeah. Well, it's appealing to people's emotions, and what happens is people get programmed by usually the news and the media to believe certain things, and they use emotional manipulation to kind of like get people all riled up about certain things and issues and whatever, and supporting certain people, presidents,
right,
whatever, politicians. And then they know they got the two camps, left and the right, that each have their emotional triggers, and then they just like play those constantly, and then they get people on both sides riled up. But when you look into it, the truth is usually like in the middle here, or a mix of the two, and there's lies and truth on both sides, and you got to find what's real. But you can only do that when you step back, catch from the emotional triggers, and look into things.
One thing real quick. And the reason they do this, because people are still asking why right now. The reason they do this is because unity consciousness. They don't want us to unite. They don't want us to realize we are all one. Yeah. This is one consciousness and our minds, our potential. We have so much more potential than we've ever been taught, than we can ever realize. Like the telepathy and all that stuff. We can move stuff like the Force in Star Wars. That is achievable, in my opinion. I mean, you can tap into these abilities. They don't want you to know that. As soon as you realize you are more powerful than all the bullshit they're trying to tell you, then they can't control you anymore. And that's what they don't want.
And the funny thing is you start realizing the more you come into your own and what Tyler just said and start waking up. I would call that waking up.
It's TJ.
Sorry, it's TJ now. And the more you, let's just for simplicity call it just the more you grow spiritually, and all the stuff they're trying to push and sell you it matters less and less to you the more you grow in yourself, and then it just stops working altogether. Because then you watch news and you see right through it, and it doesn't trigger you like it used to, and it doesn't. Yeah. And
if you even turn it on anymore.
Yeah, and it's not just the news. I mean, it's just like mainstream everything that tries to get sold. They try to sell to us every day, and ads. It's just everything, all that materialistic stuff. You're like, why would I care about that when you know what's real now?
Right. Right. Well, I mean, I've had the nicest people. So, some of my friends that I've actually blocked on Facebook because their anger and hatred towards the president is just sickening. They wish him harm. They wish he'd die. They wish he'd get hurt. And I'm like, I don't need this, so I just block him. I just I don't need it to block him.
Yeah. I've seen that. I've gotten that.
And I just want to say, just to my friends, family, and anybody out there, actually everybody, all your listeners, just be conscious of what you're hearing and kind of listen to it with a grain of salt and do your own research. That's it. That's all I really want to talk about politics, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And really examine your emotions and your beliefs, and really look at them and question, are these coming from a genuine place autonomously, or is this something I'm just being triggered that I've like these beliefs that I've adopted from somewhere outside of me?
Someone asked me the other day, they said, I was trying to show them something, like, what's your source? I said, the only source that you need is your heart. I said, look at this information. What does it feel like to you? Does it resonate with you or not? Or your gut? Like, that's my source, honestly.
Also, if your source is purely some mainstream media, CNN, go down the list.
Yeah.
Or some mainstream outlet, or some very clearly biased, even alternative outlet. And that's it. Well,
I've gotten to a point, if I want to catch up on the news, I try to pay attention to what the person actually says themselves. I like getting on and listening to the actual speech or the rally or the meeting or whatever was actually said. That's where I get my information. I make my own decision on what I want to believe or disbelieve.
Exactly. It's not firsthand knowledge.
Yeah, and then to see what the twist they put on both sides have their own twist to it. Exactly. It just so watch it yourself. Do your own research. That's it.
All right.
Yes.
What else?
Yes.
What else you got for us? I'm out of
What else I have for you? Yeah. Well, I mean, just one of the things that sickens me is the toxins that are put in our bodies without a lot of people understanding and knowing about it. The deodorant you use, the toothpaste you use, the water you drink. You have made me, Tyler, TJ, aware of that, a lot of it. And of course, I started doing my own research, and looking into it, and started seeing how harmful a lot of stuff was. And I started to making the changes myself. I started to try to detox. My dad is unfortunately going through a bad time right now with Alzheimer's. And he, I went to his doctor with him once, and the doctor was looking at me the whole time he was talking, which I think there was a purpose for that. He was explaining to me what I need to do so I don't end up like that in the future. And this doctor was from India, but you would have never known he was a medical doctor. He was pretty much telling me holistic stuff of what he does when their country does. They don't use medicines. They use herbs and natural things to cure sicknesses and illnesses, and not to use the aluminum deodorants and the fluoride toothpaste. And he was just going through all this himself, and I'm sitting there just staring at him like, I've been told this. I'm hearing it from you now. Are you a real doctor here, or what?
In the industry,
and but it was just he was telling me what to eat. The walnuts, the berries, the just tell me the direction I should go with my diet so that I don't end up like what my dad is going through right now. And with that, I'm seeing him deteriorate slowly, and I see him on a part-time basis because I live 45 minutes from him and the rest of my family. And I just have to reach out to my brother and sister and thank them. They're living it every day. And I just feel bad for them, and seeing, and my mom, and knowing what they're seeing every day of their life, watching my dad deteriorate. I see him, I try to see him once a week, but sometimes it's not once a week, it's a little more than every 2 weeks, but I'm trying to see him as much as possible. And kudos to them for living it, so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah.
I've dealt with it, and so definitely diet is a big,
diet.
You can, and cutting out aluminum in general.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason there's aluminum in vaccines. They know this leads to Alzheimer's disease. Mm-hmm. There's a reason there's aluminum in
heavy
deodorant.
Metals. Aluminum and heavy metals is a huge.
Deodorant is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, obviously the fluoride calcifies your pineal gland, and that keeps you from ever being able to see that orb that I saw fly in front of you.
Yeah.
Because there is more to it. We can see more than we realize, but when that's calcified, you can only see where they want you to see.
Mm-hmm.
So cutting out fluoride, the fluoride in toothpaste.
And the water, it's in our water. Yeah. And
reverse osmosis is how you get that out of there. It's a filtering system.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny when you look at, and it seems like our country, the U.S., has gotten the worst of the poisons put in our water, our food, GMOs, probably even chemtrails and everything. And when you look at cancer rates and disease rates that have just gone up and up and up over the years and skyrocketed, mm-hmm. and where our country is the worst basically in all of that. And then you look at the correlation of that and they started putting fluoride in the water here, and they started doing GMOs here and putting all this crap in our food here. And over the years, it's gotten worse and worse and worse and all that, and the chemicals and everything. And the disease rates and the cancer rates, it goes right along with it.
And again, I wasn't aware of all this till recently. Tyler, TJ, you introduced me to all this and made me aware of all this. And I just, again, to all my families and friends and your listeners, if you're hearing about this stuff for the first time, pay attention to it. Do your own research on it. That's the main thing.
Well, and honestly, go ahead.
Don't look at government sites. You're going to get misinformation. You need to go beyond that.
Well, Google in general, Google has been infiltrated, let's say, by the deep state.
Right.
And there's
whistleblowers.
There's whistleblowers who've come forward. Zach Voorhees, I recommend looking up Zach Voorhees, watching his testimony, and it'll shatter your paradigm. What they are doing at Google within the internet to control people and steer narratives and deleting information. They are deleting words when you like cure cancer or holistic or plant health, whatever. Those sites, they are removing the sites. You can't even search the words. There's a alternative site called DuckDuckGo. It's
but apparently they just got bought out by Google.
Did they?
I heard that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So now that's compromised.
Apparently we're all fucked.
Yeah.
What about Bing?
There's a few alternatives I've heard about. There's one called Ecosia that is, there's some kind of environmental connection that, so I'm going to look more into that one.
Yeah.
But
what about Bing?
Microsoft, so that's not any better really because Microsoft.
Of course Google would buy them out.
Yeah. But it's funny because Google, you know, when you look at the history of Google, it looks like it was clearly like they set it up to be the big search engine that everyone uses so they can get everyone using that one platform.
It's a monopoly.
Yeah. And then start doing the censoring and, you know, manipulating the algorithms. And, you know, they got it to where, and you can prove this yourself, you type in any topic that's like a conspiracy topic, you know, that gets labeled fringe or conspiracy. And it's like the whole first page on almost all of them will be like, oh, it's debunking it, and
or it's a hoax.
It's a hoax. Yeah. It's fake. It's crazy trashing it. Yeah, just all of that is like the whole first page. So they're burying pretty much all of the good information on all these topics way down in the results, and they're putting up front the stuff to get you to think it's all, you know. Yeah. It's a mind manipulation. It's
and then they link all the false flag crimes and events to conspiracy theorists. So like, oh, some conspiracy theorists burn down this house. Some cute conspiracy theorists set off a bomb.
And they try to make...
They try and frame us as being crazy because we're exposing everything they've ever worked for. But it's all changing. It's here. You know, we know about the whatever.
Well, they see the writing on the wall, and they see they see everything coming down the pipe. So, you know, what we're seeing now a lot is these kind of like last ditch efforts to, you know, out of desperation on their part to kind of like hopefully work Hail Mary, so to speak, you know, but nothing's going to work, you know, but it's going to cause some craziness. Like this coronavirus that's going around right now, unfortunately appears to be not a natural
coronavirus. I don't care what anybody says. It literally. So somebody sent me this the other day. Lysol's website, Lysol, the wipes, the spray. It said it lists what it disinfects, and human coronavirus is on the list.
Really?
It's like bacteria, and it's literally it's no more harmful than a cold. Like it's just like simple germs that have been just totally. It's all propaganda. There's been
but there is a virus going around, but I don't think it's what they're telling us it is. I think it's something else because, well, also apparently China, like the numbers they're reporting are way, way lower than what it appears it actually is.
Oh yeah.
Because they're having to set up like makeshift hospitals apparently in China.
And I found out that I was doing some research. They claimed they built a hospital in a week's time. If you look at the date, that's impossible. You cannot build a hospital in a week. I don't care. And they're showing videos of like dead bodies laying in the streets. There are not even real videos or photographs.
That's a good idea. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. They're probably manipulating the perception on how bad it is rather than the other way around.
It's a fear mongering.
Yeah.
If you look at all the viruses, you know, the Zika virus, the I can't even think of all of them. There's been every other year there's a new virus that we're supposed to be afraid of. So we get the vaccine. So we keep, you know, injecting ourselves with poisons because otherwise we're going to die. It's just a bullshit joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got?
What else do I have? We didn't talk about some of the experiences with the animals, you know. You remember that time we were sitting on your deck and that bird flew straight at me?
I've never seen anything like this in my life.
Minute. It was crazy.
We were sitting on a deck, and you didn't even see it. I was watching this bird fly, and it started flying straight for my dad's face. And I was like, oh my! I was getting ready to jump out of the way as this, you know, big bird, I guess a crow or a raven or something. And at the last second, it turned and flew right past his head. And and he didn't even flinch. I was just like, what the
Yeah.
if that's not an animal, was that one of your guides trying to get your attention about
Yeah.
something?
Well, I mean, if you do research into Native Americans, but they didn't have electronics back in the day. They couldn't see numbers on the screens and clocks and license plates. They did have the gut feeling, the intuitiveness they had, but they also got messages through nature, through animals. And if you do your research, it's all in their history, it's all in their writings, it's all in their talking. It's just everywhere back. It's just undeniable. And with that, I've always had those experiences. Again, I've had a lot of experiences in the past, and until I know what I know now, I'm looking back at all these experiences I had, and they were trying to tell me something I wasn't paying attention to at the time. Didn't realize. But several things. The buzzards usually fly. They're hundreds of feet in the air, just circling. Well, I had one come down at my windshield, probably 5 or 6 feet off my windshield, open its wings up and turn away. And my wife is sitting next to me. I'm like, did you see that?
Wow.
Do you believe that? And she's like, yeah. And she just looks forward again. I'm like, are you crazy? Unbelievable, didn't you just realize what just happened there? That doesn't happen normally, That I had a hawk do that coming across the field. I'm watching it come across the field, and it actually made me swerve. It just did the same thing. It came across my hood, opened up the wings, and turned away. It was purposely trying to get my attention. And when that happens, I do the research on the meaning, and 9 times out of 10, actually 10 times out of 10, it has something to do with what I'm going through, thinking, or it's happening in my life. It's just it's amazing how those synchronicities, just with nature, it all comes together.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I remember at Dimensions of the Disclosure, Clifford Mahooty talking, and he said part of the training as a child, just teaching them how to harvest and hunt, and he would have to go out, and he would be like, they were supposed to be harvesting, plant or whatever plants, and they would tell him, okay, now talk to this rabbit, and he's like, what are you talking? Just talk to him. And he finally understood later in life that we really have a relationship with animals,
Mm-hmm.
and just by talking to them, there's a communication going on.
Well, you can telepathically communicate with things.
Yeah, telepathically, and people do that.
Mm-hmm.
And people have there's research out there that birds telepathically communicate.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason they all fly and they all move at the exact same time.
How else would they be able to do that?
It's like the drone shows that you see. They're all programmed on the same program.
Mm-hmm.
You hit play and boom, it's the program. It's just like it's like
they're all
organic program
tuned into the same field.
Yeah.
And then they operate as like a whole,
mm-hmm.
and that's how they're able to.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the big reasons I stopped eating meat. For one, I realized it was just keeping me at a low vibration. But for two, I realized that it's just every animal is beautiful. I mean, they really are. And there's so much. Because I've done that and because I've changed that mindset, I was able to sit down in a park and had a deer approach me and start licking my toe. Now you tell me,
that's incredible.
If when's that ever happened?
I've never heard of anything like that.
I verified it. He showed me a picture of it.
I was taking pictures of it doing it.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think it can feel the respect that you have.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So with this being your 50th episode, I'm going to ask, make sure your audience is aware of you guys, one of your talents. These guys are both guitar players, awesome guitar players.
Oh man.
Yeah. And I know TJ, you're still working on stuff. Aaron, are you playing anymore? Are you working with anything or?
Once in a while, just jamming around on my own, but
yeah.
I'm not working on anything.
Yeah.
Project or anything. The last band I was in, I quit a little over a year ago. And that's a long story, but
yeah.
But like that band, it was a lot of fun while it lasted. We did some covers and stuff, but it kind of went downhill at the end, and then there was some drama that happened at the.
Well, there's a reason why you got out of it, and then here's the thing, I think same with you, TJ, and you're kind of doing your own thing. You're just writing your own music right now, and I'm anxious to hear it someday. Maybe you guys should have a music show. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm in the middle of working on an instrumental project right now, progressive metal style. And this is all, I would say it's channeled music. It's all stuff that has came to me post awakening. It's a different style than I used to write. It's kind of incorporated in, and I feel I had no anticipation on doing anything with it. And I just was like, it's just a hobby. And I kept getting the synchronicities. I got something that stuck with me. It said, "Don't die with your music inside you." And I was like, I'm going to take that as a sign that I need to at least record it and put it out in an album. I don't know.
And see, that's awesome. And you always hear me say music is life. I think music is life. I mean, everybody out there has their favorite band, their favorite type of music, but there is a music for every mood you're in. You know what I mean? If you pay attention to it, whatever mood you're in, you're listening to that type of music. And that's where I find my relaxation is when there's music in the background, or just I don't have to be listening to it. It just has to be there. It seems like just things flow, things, just everything, whether you're working, which they try to take that away from you at work, but they don't realize what that does for morale and your work ethic and everything.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a book out there. So a lot of this music, a lot of these musicians have stories of abductions or ET experiences, and they'll like say they woke up and the song was already in their head. There's a book called Alien Rock, and it talks about rock stars and musicians over time and how they've all had ET experiences, and they all claim to have gotten influenced from their experiences at some point or another in their career. And so these messages are coming through, and this has also been done negatively as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, I mean, TJ, you know this because you have the album, and but I mean, it's back from my era. Is Billy Thorpe "Children of the Sun" album?
Yeah.
It just if you read about that and do the research on that, it's just awesome. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It's a total experiencer story. I mean, that is all there. It can be nothing else.
Yeah.
Right.
It was in '79, I think. And he had a lot of trouble getting any label to even sign him because it was really taboo at the time.
Yeah.
But it is even musically, it's a good album. I've listened to it quite a few times now.
Yeah.
And it has actually a lot to do with what's going on currently. As far as this ascension and this event that we hear about, it's like directly tied into that, which is a whole other story. But it's these messages are embedded within music. You're right.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it is music seems back in my early days is totally different than today's music. Like, Hendrix, Santana, just Eddie Van Halen, just their music was pure, and you start listening to today's music, and it's just kind of like
complete crap.
It's just not there. It's just not there. I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't know why, but it's just not there.
It's lacking any soul. It's cabal music. A lot of this music is meant to keep us in a certain frequency, so we never do question all this stuff.
I will say mainstream
music,
because the thing about today is it's so much easier for more and more people to make music and create a band, record, put an album out, whatever,
out of your basement. Yeah.
So there's actually, from my experience, there's actually probably more great music than there's ever been, just because of that reason.
Yeah.
Because so many people have access to be able to make and record.
But what's being pushed
music
is crap.
But the mainstream, and that makes total sense. But it's kind of like you just have to search and find the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot harder than just being out there, the big bands and artists.
I mean, you just look at music over history in ancient times. I mean, back drums and just they find ancient instruments, ancient flutes, and different whistles, and just music's been around forever. It has to have some kind of significance with what we're going through. I mean, the bowls, just
singing.
There's so much, there's so much out there, and it just resonates. I think the right music does,
Well, sound is frequency, and
a technology.
Yeah,
it really is.
And ultimately, sound and light are what make up everything. Down to it, those are like
the fundamentals.
The fundamentals, and sound is frequency, and we always talk about frequency and vibration. That's really the same thing we're talking about here. So that's why people listen to the, different frequency tones and stuff.
Could
and
be
that
interesting.
you fundamentally, like it can like raise your vibration and open you up, and yeah.
It would be interesting to have a guest that was educated on all this. It'd be, I think.
All right, only take note of that.
I mean, it's just an avenue I have a love for. So
yeah, well,
I'm sure other people do too.
I firmly believe a lot of the ancient sites, the stones, the megalithic stones,
are acoustically,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And there's actually evidence in science that supports this. You're not going to hear them talk about it on the History Channel. They still don't know how the pyramids were built, on the History Channel. But there is clear science and evidence that shows that we can levitate objects with sound, and you could do it in your living room with the right speaker and the right tone.
Mm-hmm.
And the ancients achieved this. And there is so much evidence. There's the stone circles in Africa are literally, so when you look at them from above, they just look insignificant and just a mess. Mm-hmm. But they realize that the shape that they built is actually, it's like when you put sand on a speaker and the speaker vibrates and it makes a pattern, that's the shape that they built right on that spot. So the
cymatics.
Yeah.
Cymatics.
So the earth is resonating in this area. They figured out what that pattern looks like, and they built their structure in that shape. And this is proven science if you want to, go mainstream with it. And it's just amazing. It's amazing what you can do with sound. And oh man, I could go.
Well, that's what that's why like you hear about cymatics is when they play a frequency and it changes, and it makes like a geometrical pattern.
Mm-hmm. I've seen that before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what that's called.
Okay, and it's creating literal like sacred geometry patterns.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like how much more proof do you need?
Yeah. Well, what's that castle? The Coral Castle.
Coral Castle.
Yeah.
In Florida.
There's like an eyewitness testimony where two kids were riding their bike at night or something, or home from school. I'm really going to butcher this, and they came around a corner and saw the guy who was building this stuff overnight. Levitating the stone with what they called ice cream cones.
Yeah.
They're like and there are depictions, Egyptian hieroglyphs and just art, whatever I'm trying to say.
Petroglyphs.
Yeah, there are depictions of them holding these cone-shaped objects, and in Africa, all around those sites I was just talking about, they found hundreds, if not thousands, of these cone-shaped. And they realized that each one resonates at a different frequency. So they were able to do something that we just can't quite wrap our heads around.
There's so many ancient technologies that were around that, it's funny because the narrative we get sold by the mainstream is that we're the most advanced, civilization's ever been, which is blatantly untrue when you look into things. And clearly the evidence shows there have been way more advanced civilizations in the past than we're at today.
The problem is that people can't wrap their head around is like, because we think of technology as like objects and science and like gadgets, like your phone.
It's different.
It's more of an organic understanding of consciousness and energy and sound and light.
Like works with the universe rather than like
against it.
It essentially is what a lot of our technology today. It's like primitive in that way because it's not using.
That's why we don't find any tools or any gadgets or anything, because they didn't need it, because they were, we're powerful beings. And according to certain whistleblowers, humans are actually some of the most powerful. And we just don't understand it yet. They're like knocking on the door like, hello, you guys are capable of so much more. Turn your TV off.
Well, that's why the suppression is so intense and so much of it, because they know how powerful we are and they're afraid of us.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They fear us. And, they know as soon as we wake up, it's game over. And, they're gone because we are so much more. We're incredibly powerful beings. We just have forgotten, and once we, we're waking up to that now, though, and it already is game over. So
Boom.
it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
The coming days for sure.
I agree. Big year ahead of us. A lot of disclosures coming, in my opinion. Don't be surprised if we start seeing a lot of this free energy technology rolling out. The Space Force, they would have never even created the Space Force without the technology to back it. This stuff has been in development, been in use for years, and they're going to roll it out. The patents are literally readily available for everyone to look at. The science, they're operable patents. You can go out there and
they're saying operable in the patents, which is not a common thing for patents.
Yeah.
They don't usually say operable in the patent, but they're clearly trying to make a statement saying this stuff works.
And they're doing it because we're going to see the Triangle TR3B. In my opinion, that's probably going to be one of the first ones we see roll out. And this looks like this, and the science is out there. So when it comes out, they're just getting all their ducks in a row.
They're preparing the masses.
Cool thing about that is there's a radio station. One of the DJs during the day, as he signs off, thanks all the branches of the military. Just recently, he started adding the Space Force. He goes, let's not forget about our guys in the Space Force.
Yeah.
He started acknowledging them along with the other military branches.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. What's funny is I went to the website. I wanted to see. I was curious to see the careers you can get in the Space Force and what their options were. And all I did was go, but you have to put your name and email on the website. Well, like the next day they emailed me, and hey, blah, blah, blah. And then they called me, and then he called me again. Like they want, and this a local recruiter wanted me to recruit me for the Space Force. So
you gonna join?
No, I've gotten strong guidance.
For some reason, I'm envisioning the movie Stripes with you. I don't know.
You can do greater truth like Mars.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be like, do you guys have like a?
You guys have a computer with Zoom? Can I bring my MacBook with me?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, but I've gotten strong, clear messages to not go that path. Is as exciting as it seems. I think my mission lies here.
Yeah, I think I see that. I see you needed here doing. You and I both have different missions.
I feel the same way. I feel like I belong here, not.
Yeah, I mean, as cool as it would be, like I don't know what's going to happen in this lifetime, but I've been getting this unreal, vivid urge, if that even makes sense, and this experience. I keep seeing myself walking on the moon in this lifetime, like in this 3D reality, at some point. And I don't know what that means.
I think you've already been there.
Well, most likely, yes.
Yeah. Or that.
Well, a lot of my experiences, which people don't know about, have been me on craft going to the moon in particular.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't remember all the details. Some of them I come back with actual physical trauma, I guess you could say.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Especially G-force, which makes me think it's like an older type of craft. I don't know what it is. But I have G-force pains, which I shouldn't even know what that feels like.
Which is no reason for you to have.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Anyway. So how long have we been going? Is there anything else you want to touch on before we start wrapping it up?
As far as just touching on, no. If I just want to, if in closing for me, to everyone out there that is just starting to understand all this, the only advice I could give is pay attention. Pay attention to reoccurring numbers. These little things that you might just blow off on a daily basis, and reoccurring numbers, seeing the same animal over and over and over again, or bird over and over again, or having these experiences with an animal or a bird that is just not normal. Pay attention to it. Your thoughts. Pay attention to your thoughts. Your gut feeling. Go with your gut feeling. Pay attention to that stuff. I got to a point I get complacent sometimes where I'll see these repeating numbers. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. Seeing those numbers again. But they're knocking me in the head trying to say, no, do the research on this. We're trying to tell you something. I think you've been there too. You get complacent with seeing the numbers so much. You just kind of don't pay attention to them anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where they knock you upside the head sometimes and really make you pay attention again, and they're out there for a reason. But in your daily life, now that you hear this, hopefully you'll start noticing this stuff more and paying attention and do your research, look up the meanings, and you'll start seeing how it affects what you're seeing is actually affecting or happening in your daily life. And it's just, that's all I can say.
Just like, circumstances and people that you meet and things that happen, like pay attention to everything because
nothing is coincidence.
Exactly.
People's paths cross for a reason. I found that out to be so true.
Whether even though it might seem like it's something bad, you're supposed to be learning a lesson from that situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If something bad does happen to you, don't look at it as something bad just happened to me. Look at why and understand what you would learn. What you learn. Yeah, exactly. What you learn from what just happened. Don't be, everything, just everything happens for a reason. There's a purpose for it.
And for growth, too.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, all right, with that, we're going to wrap it up. And actually, I want to take this opportunity. So I was digging through my boxes in the basement the other day.
Yeah.
And I came across an award. This certificate is awarded to TJ Kiwala for perfect attendance during the 1998 soccer season. Coach Jim Kiwala. So I want to take this moment and thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, and that was actually before participation trophies too.
Yeah,
waited 21 years or 22 years.
The ironic thing about this is that you were the coach, so I had no choice but this award. Perfect attendance.
That's good. That's good. Good memories back then, though. The menu kids were awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for that.
Oh, yeah. You're welcome. You might get another one this Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Another perfect attendance award.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We are on multiple platforms. If you don't want to watch us on YouTube, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. Oh, my God. The list.
We're pretty much everywhere now.
Yeah, the list goes on. Follow us for updates on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you just want to keep up, because we're always posting stuff, even when we're not posting podcasts. Like and subscribe if you feel compelled to. And we hope you enjoyed this. 50 episodes. Wow, it's been awesome.
Hopefully I'll be back for the 100th, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We'll just have you every 50.
Yeah, every 50. Yeah. Just keep eating healthy so we can do that.
There you go. I plan on it, guys.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Good night, everyone.